It's now 23 minutes to 8. It's time for us to look at person of interest. And as I'd mentioned earlier on, today we have the Nairobi woman rep, and that is Esther Passaris. Good morning, and it's good to have you back in studio. We've had you here before, and a pleasure to host you. And let me just read some of the tweets that are coming through. I have Bazahi Mining Company who says, Tuko pamoja, inshallah. He also calls you sweetheart. I guess he's also endeared to you in some way. We also have John who says, I am very impressed with Esther Passaris' work so far, and please keep up the good work. So there are quite a number of comments coming in, and I'd asked if you have any questions for her, feel free to send them through, and we see whether we can put them through to her. But Esther Passaris, good to have you. Now, as Nairobi woman rep, let's start with your experience so far. Do you feel like you have achieved a lot so far? We did have you before, you are woman rep, and you gave us all these promises of what you're intending to do.
Okay, wow, it wasn't as easy because we had a lot of post-election violence. I was left a lot of deaths in Nairobi. In Nairobi, we had about 100 dead, and we had several injured, and of course, a lot of tear gas. It was tough. It was tough because it was just bodies and hospital and poverty and pain. So emotionally very draining. Then, of course, we were resisting. Then we were a resistance movement, you know. It was tough. It was tough. I got
it was
right.
difficult
you know, for me,
to get in and start doing the work that you're supposed to.
You see, for me, I wanted to get into politics because I could see how the rot in government and governmental institutions impacted my life as a businesswoman and as a woman. So I wanted to get in, you know, be part of the change that I want. And I've spent a lot of money trying to get in there. And there's a lot of people who put support behind me financially and emotionally to get there, including my own family. So I just expected we'll finish with the elections, we'll go in and start working, serving the people. But it was not like that. There was so much tension, and the handshake is answered prayers, honestly.
Would you say the handshake has alleviated those pressures? Because there's what we see from our end, but there's what you have in the office. You still have, you know, corporate politics that one has to deal with. So would you say the handshake has alleviated that, both from what we see and from what you experience in your office?
You see, for me, I think the handshake eased the tension. All right? But then there's still undercurrents that have not been taken care of. And undercurrents are not good. We've got to, if we want to unite, if the spirit of the handshake is about uniting Kenya as one, so that we you know, was multi-party the right way to go? You know, if we were looking at single-party state as being corrupt, as being I don't know, the single-party state, and then we went into multi-party. When you think corruption, we had it there, we have it even more here with multi-party. So was the multi-party supposed to solve corruption, create an opposition, keep government in check? And that's why we went for it. For me, it has worsened corruption. Devolution has also taken development to the people, but it's also devolved corruption. So for me, the spirit of the handshake has to be anchored on something that is firm. And if the firmness of the spirit of the handshake is that we are one Kenya, then I think after Uhuru and Raila met, there was a need to bring all the political leaders on board. And that hasn't happened. And I would like it to happen. As a woman, as a mother, as somebody who has seen the cost of post-election violence, women being raped, women being maimed, properties being destroyed, children suffering.
So as the people of Nairobi, or as a representative of the people of Nairobi, because it's not just women, you're representing Nairobi basically, we have put you there in leadership to ensure some of those concerns that you have are represented. What are you doing to ensure that, first of all, the leaders are brought on board, and that for Wanjiku, because at the end of the day, what we're looking for is a country where we can operate and a better country to live in?
Okay, I am one person, and I've realized something in politics. Parliament and the political leadership, you know, when you look at party politics, and the private sector and the NGO world, we are all driving different agendas. And the sadness is we can make as many laws as we want, but if we don't tackle the big elephant in the room, which is poverty and corruption, and they are connected, and if that is not what is driving our leadership, then for me, I'm just...
Lost the plot.
We've lost the plot. I feel, you know, yesterday we were in a radio talk show, and one of the members of parliament said, oh, you know, they've joined government, now there's no opposition. I like the idea of the fact that we've joined government, because for me, after elections, any responsible government will work with all elected leaders. But immediately after the elections, there was talk. And you see, the people who talk are the people in the political party. There was talk by a lot of Jubilee members that we're not going to do development in NASA strongholds. We're going to develop this section of Kenya and that section. So for me, when Raila and Uhuru had the handshake, it meant Kenya became one again. We can develop the whole country. Because when an election is over, the government should actually respect all elected leaders. But Jubilee government did something very wrong. And the structures of government were actually intertwined with Jubilee. And that is wrong. The structures of government are supposed to serve all political leaders.
Are they not serving all political leaders?
No, they lost their independence just before the election. When you have CSs campaigning for a political party, that is neutrality lost.
And that's where now the opposition party comes in and says, no, you stamp your foot and say, no, we'll not agree this, because as per the constitution, they're not allowed to do that. But now, when you, as a member of the Orange Democratic Party, join into government, does that mean that some of those things then are forgotten?
No, you know what? If we have strong lawyers, and I'd really challenge Law Society of Kenya to do this, because, you know, something's got to give. Something's got to give. Law Society of Kenya, all right, and all these bodies that are mandated to protect the interest of Kenya, they have to go for all the CSs who openly campaigned for the Jubilee government and get them out of office. That would be my position, because we want to have government neutral. Government does its job, waits for the new government to come in, and then takes off and continues from there. Government does not, and when I say government, I mean the offices, the ministries, you know, because the minute you have ministries aligned to a political party, right, then you have a problem. I know, because we have vetting. You know, so we have processes.
Do you consider yourself as part of government?
You know what? I'm elected as a county woman rep for Nairobi. I am a parliamentarian, so I am in one arm of government.
Correct.
All right? I am in one arm of government, parliament. All right? Then you have the executive. Now, once campaigns start, the executive has put in place various CSs to run various ministries. Those CSs, their allegiance is to the country. To the country. Not to an individual, not to a political party. They were not appointed by a political party. They were appointed by the president, who is rightfully in his office, right? But they were vetted by the public institutions that we've put in place. So the vetting means that they are serving all Kenyans. So when we came to this election, Jubilee used a lot of state resources. And that, to me, is wrong.
And that's where now I come in and ask, as a member of government, what are you, Esther Passaris, doing to ensure that some of those things are straightened? Because at the end of the day, so far, you've talked about LSK, you've talked about government, you've talked about CSs. What is Esther Passaris, in her capacity as woman rep, doing to ensure that some of these things are dealt with?
I'm making my sentiments felt right now. We don't need more laws. We need people who actually are bold enough to use their offices to implement the law. You see, the thing is, we pass laws as legislators. At the end of the day, once we've passed the laws, the bodies have to. But when you have people that don't respect the law, then for me, sometimes when I'm told, oh, we need more laws, we need more laws. We need laws, but at the end of the day, are those laws being respected? I say that when we have an election in a country, the reason we have an election is so that we can bring change. And the reason why we want to bring change is because we want to manage our resources better. And we want to protect our resources. So change cannot come if we don't clearly separate the arms of government, if we don't respect the laws. Anybody who did something wrong, if you use state machinery, if you use CSs, we have to stop that, because then we will never have free, fair, credible elections.
Okay, and one might argue and say that the government is doing their part. For instance, now we do have the first-sitting governor who's been arrested on charges of corruption. That had not happened before, so there is progress.
Okay, do me a favor. What we have right now is we're arresting one governor. We've got many governors implicated, including the previous governor of Nairobi. We've had so many stories about theft in this country by governors. Let's not have sideshows. I really hope that the DPP...
Do you think those are sideshows?
You know what, we've had headlines and headlines about people that have stolen, and we know that money has been stolen, and we know how to trace and track this money. We've had stories of women walking out of banks with sacks and sacks of money. They're still walking. The other day we were in Parliament, we were talking about amalgamating all the various retirement benefit funds into one, you know, putting all the 47 together, creating one. Fantastic. It'll be a huge fund, all right? But at the end of the day, the penalty, if you misuse, misappropriate, or mismanage the fund, is 5 million shillings or 2 years. So for me, are we serious? So many councillors, ex-councillors, are walking in this country poor, because retirement benefit funds that they've invested in have been squandered. The people that squandered this money are probably in senior offices today. We are not serious. So if we're serious, let's go back and get the money that was meant for the citizens of this country. I mean, I was thrown out of City Hall. Up to today, I've never been compensated. Never been compensated by case.
And now, by virtue of the fact that you're in office, we would expect that... I would expect every other Kenyan to complain, but not Esther Passaris, because you're in office, you're there. So we'd expect more action. What are you doing to ensure that these things are dealt with once and for all?
Let me tell you, the poverty levels in this country are so high. They're so high, but it's business as usual. I'm telling you, it's business as usual. Now, the only way it can be business unusual is if the head, everything rests with the vision that the president has for this country.
And he has given us the 4-point agenda.
He's given us the 4-point agenda. He's talked, the last time he said, corruption is too much, I can't handle it. I don't know what to do with it. And he was the president, he was speaking like that. Today he's saying, even if it's my brother and he's been corrupt, arrest him. We have major concerns about our food security. We have major concerns about the poverty levels. We are pushing the poor people to such an extent. We've devolved corruptions from national government to devolved government to individuals. There are people who are employed in state machinery that are so corrupt that they're frustrating people, from the county inspectorate to cabs right now. I mean, we are, you know, sometimes I think about what Nyerere said about Kenya, we're a man-eat-man society. That is so true. Everybody fends for themselves. It doesn't matter who. Kenya's on a stampede, and we're trampling on each other. And you know what? It's dangerous. The poor people need attention.
Okay.
So the vision of this country has to be about tackling poverty, and you can only tackle poverty if you're sincere about handling corruption. And I really pray that something gives through the DPP, and people end up in... I mean, right now we've got Gakuo in, we've got Meringethe in, all right? So there's something happening. But let us not lose momentum. Let people go in, serve their time if they've stolen money that was meant for the services for the people of this country.
So are you happy with the progress that's being made so far, or do you feel that that's too little too late? Because even when I brought in the issue of Ojamong, you said these are sideshows. Do you feel it's too little too late?
No, let me tell you what. A lot of politicians, when they're being arrested, or leaders in government offices, they say, oh, I'm being hunted, I'm being, it's about my tribe, it's about my party. I want Kenyans, the poor Kenyans out there. Let everyone carry their cross. Anybody who's arrested for corruption, sit and listen. Do not think for 1 second that, oh, he paid for my funeral, he paid for my school child, he paid for this, he paid for that. The reason why he's paying for all these things is because the institutions that were meant to be right, to give free primary education, to give free secondary education, we've actually messed up. We're giving it, but the quality has gone down. We don't have enough schools. And we're giving bursaries. We're not touching all Kenyans. Bursaries is being also a place of corruption. All I want Kenyans to understand, today, it's about you. It's not about him.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you, the Kenyan, and in capacity of you as woman rep. One of the, responsibilities that you have is to champion women's rights. And one of the issues that we have right here in Nairobi right now is insecurity. And the people that are affected most, we know, that is children and women. What are you doing to ensure, or where are we in terms of ensuring that Nairobi is a safer city to live in and to work and to basically get about your business without necessarily having to worry about the fact that you're a woman or a child?
Okay, first of all, the woman representative is about all the citizens. In fact, I think most of my challenges will be on the youth. All right, because we have a way of saying the youth are young men, and then we've got the young women. They've classed themselves as the Warembos, and then you've got the mothers, and then you've got the vulnerable citizens, the PWDs. So I represent everyone, including the aged, okay, the old people. For me, when I look at Nairobi, I have to look at the laws that we need in Parliament to protect the woman. Where are the gaps? I also have to work very closely with the senator and the governor. And I've always felt that if we pass the gender bill, which I pray we do, and we have a time limit for women rep, I pray that we will actually amend the governor's the county government law and allow to have a woman representative run with the governor, the deputy governor, a woman representative and a youth representative, and a PWD representative. So it's a team of 5. So you have elected people concerned in a county for those 5 positions, because you will always need a woman's voice, a woman representative. And so far we have very few women coming into the county government. So as the woman representative, besides legislation, as a parliamentarian, I have a fund. It's called the GAF, the National Affirmative Action Fund. All right, we get as women rep, and it was accidental that the women reps were given this money, but I'm glad that the government has kept it going, though limited in resources. We have GAF, and GAF is about vulnerable citizens. It's a grant fund, and it deals with women empowerment. It deals with value addition. It deals with bursaries. It deals with projects. All right.
Is it working so far?
All right. So the first thing you have to do, I mean, before the handshake, I was really being frustrated, and I wasn't being given the assistance that I wanted in terms of getting my office going, and it's understandably so. I mean, it was like the mandate: don't work with opposition. After the handshake, we've already got a coordinator. We got a coordinator in the month of May, and that's why I'm saying structures of government have to be independent of political party issues. All right. That we have to separate. And we need to make sure that we do the necessary right now in this tenure, so that when we come to 2022, structures of government respect the fact that they have to be neutral. That's very important for free, fair, credible elections. So we've started civic education. This money is 7 million shillings per constituency. I have 17 constituencies. I'm the largest county in Kenya. I'm in the capital city. I would have hoped that the government would embrace me as the woman rep, and it's not happened yet. I was so frustrated that I actually offered myself. And
when you say they've not embraced you, what do you mean?
Well, I'll tell you what. You have so many projects that government is running. As the county government, for instance, regeneration of Nairobi. There's so many things that government is doing, but very rarely am I involved. I've actually been asking the governor of Nairobi, please call all the Nairobi leadership. We need to sit down. We need to have a round table. We need to work together for Nairobi. And that hasn't happened yet. And I'm hoping that soon it will happen, because the senator, the woman rep, and the governor have to work together. But I feel that every elected member in any county has to work with the governor, because you've got 2 levels of services. You've got the services that the Mwananchi is asking for that is provided by the county government. You've got the MCAs. The MCAs, I go for civic education. I invite the MCAs, I invite the MPs. And when I go for civic education, it is said when the MCA stands up, takes the mic, and says, Mama County, we need water, we need toilets, we need roads, our youth need jobs, and I'm thinking, half of the things you've asked me are what your county government is supposed to provide. And you're asking me. So that's why I'm saying that we need to have synergy between all of us as leaders, because the vision of this country is prosperity, is what is contained in our national anthem, all right? We need peace and prosperity.
Okay.
So that vision can only be attained if after elections, we come together as one and serve Mwananchi.
All right, so is government frustrating your efforts? And let me rephrase that, because you are government as far as the Constitution is concerned. You are in government as woman rep. Is Jubilee frustrating your efforts as woman rep by virtue of the fact that you belong to a different party?
Jubilee was frustrating my efforts before the handshake. After the handshake, we have taken a few steps. I am waiting to watch what other steps will be taken. I honestly believe, as the county woman representative in the capital city, right, I need to have audience with the president. And I think all the county women reps in this country are waiting for a day that the president has audience with us, because we represent women. 50% of the voters are women. We need to sit down with him now. We had a sitting with the deputy president as women leaders, all right? We need to sit down with the president as well. And the reason why we need to sit down with him is because now that we've all done our civic education, we have seen what is the rot and the problems in the ground. And if we can sit with him and he understands that we are committed. Most of us are a new lot. Most of us are a new lot.
But one might ask the question, with structure of government, one would imagine looking at hierarchy and, you know, order of, let me call it pecking order, one would expect that you would sit down with governor and he should be able to represent, or at least hear you, then represent you to the deputy president, and it continues. Is that not the case?
The governor is very, very evasive.
And by governor here, we're talking about Mike Sonko.
Yes, I have
evasive to meet with you?
Yes, evasive to meet with me, evasive to meet with the Nairobi leadership, evasive to involve us in the plans of Nairobi. I think that as a governor of Nairobi, I've seen other counties, governors sitting together with the members of parliament and basically discussing the programs for Nairobi. I challenge Mike Sonko. You cannot run Nairobi, being the biggest county in this country, without the leadership of Nairobi. So it's time for you to bring in all the leaders, elected leaders, and it's time for you to actually show us your plan, show us your challenges, so that we can together work. The senator, the governor, myself, and all the members of parliament, the MCAs, we need to collectively serve Nairobi. Like making a decision yesterday. Just give you an example. Yesterday, I saw it on television. The governor has said all toilets owned by city council, and I hope it was clear, should not be paid for. For me, we are already struggling with delivery of services. Will we be able to actually end up with cholera because we're not able to have clean toilets? Will we have an increase in cholera in Nairobi because of clean toilets? I understand where he's coming from, that the youths are fighting for the toilets. Part of my project, I've put in quite a lot of money to provide toilets in Dagoretti North and other counties and other slums where there are no toilets. These are going to be women or youth empowerment projects where we provide a toilet, we provide collection through partnership with an NGO that's doing that. He's created a lot of confusion. There are people who are running businesses in toilet, in the slums, through an NGO. What's going to happen when the citizens say we cannot? He's created stakeholders meetings are important. Governor should have called a stakeholders meeting to discuss the toilets.
If the governor is watching you right now, what's your message to him?
Governor, you need us, right, to deliver on your vision for Nairobi. You need us.
Okay. Because of time, we'll have to wind up. And it sounds to me, Esther Passaris, like you're frustrated in your office by virtue of the fact that you're not able to do what you need to do. Your closing comments, are you frustrated?
Let me tell you what, I'm frustrated with the levels of poverty. I'm frustrated with the rapes. I'm frustrated with the quality of education centers. I'm frustrated with the fact that the resources and you know, I mean, this is, I am frustrated, but I'm not giving up. I'm going round, I'm doing my work. I'm finishing my civic education. I was supposed to go actually to New York, and I opted not to delay my civic educations. I want to complete them. So I canceled the trip to New York. I'm actually going to be here to ensure that I finish the civic educations by next week, start the project implementation, because the youth are crying for help. Gikomba burning down, Korogocha Market burning down, Westlands not being completed, Kibera right now, 12-day notice to relocate. You know, how do you relocate all those families? We've got so many serious issues issues. The demonstration yesterday by traders who are earning their keep, being frustrated because everything they're told is counterfeit. I'm saying cabs go slow. At the end of the day, we have a problem. These traders we took them to China through their banks. They took loans. They've put their goods in the shops. They're now being told their goods are counterfeit. They have to bribe to get their stock out of the port. We have a serious problem. Let us not kill our economy. Right. These Kenyans need to work. These Kenyans, any Kenyan that is working, and Mama Mboga goes to the city, CBD, to sell her hawking tomatoes. She's arrested by the county inspectorate. If she doesn't have a little money to pay, she's thrown into Langata for 6 months. For me, and then I'm going there with the money that I'm supposed to help vulnerable citizens to remove Mama Mboga because her family is collapsing. We have to have a serious discussion about poverty alleviation. And let us be friendly to the people that put us in office. Poverty alleviation means that we support those that are already earning their living through hard work. Hard work. The person who's roasting maize, who's a university graduate.
Because of time.
Oh, wait, hold on. I have to say something. We're launching sanitary towels today for Nairobi. I thank the government. That's a law that we put in, and the sanitary towels for Nairobi are going to be distributed today from Donholm Primary. So if your school does not have sanitary towels in the next 2 weeks, get in touch with me. Every girl from standard class 6 all the way to the high school are going to get free sanitary towels, including for Nairobi. I'm fighting for the community-based schools,
Esther Passaris,
so everyone has sanitary towels.
It's been a pleasure hosting you as person of interest, and I'm sure we'll need an hour or so to get through the work that you have to do. But there you go. Because of time, we'll have to wind up right there. Thank you for joining us this morning. It's now 3 minutes after 8. We're going to take a short break, but do stay with us. We have Tech Central lined up for you.